I did everything that all of the money content creators here on YouTube, Ramit Sethi, Your Rich BFF, those are the two that I follow very often. I checked all the boxes, y'all, and it led me somewhere that nobody warned me about. None of them told me. And no shade to them. I really love their content. But I spent 4 years deep down the rabbit hole of financial education only to realize I have a financial plan that I can no longer trust. So, this is me sharing exactly what happened with you and how I literally don't have an answer now. Um I don't have a plan really anymore. My plan is brute force to make as much money as I can servicing people because like at this point anyway, let me just tell you what I found. Yes, let me just explain how all of this happened. So on at the end of last year going into this year, I spent a lot of time reflecting on wealth, power, and economics and finances. And it's not that I know a lot, it's just that I had a lot of questions. And so I was researching a lot and trying to understand, um, just like understand how the systems work. And after all of my research, and I've actually, this research has been like ongoing for multiple years. Like I have been looking into, I mean, when I say years, I mean years. I just didn't realize that I was doing financial and economic research at the time, quite frankly. I didn't realize that that's exactly what I was doing. Um, but I mean, I've been doing research on like understanding who is funding fracking. I've been doing research to understand like the agriculture and fisheries and CAFOs and like coral reef degradation and bycatch and like cobalt mining in the DRC. And I've been trying to understand the systems that run our lives, which is a part of why I made the previous video I made on like I never asked to be here and now I have to pay to be here. Like, why? And just expressing that frustration because once you realize how corrupt and just decayed the systems that we live within are, and how complicit we are just by being alive. Like just by breathing air, you become a problem. It's just by breathing air, somebody else is somehow affected negatively in some roundabout weird kind of way because we're all connected at this point because of the way global economies work. And so once I realized that, I couldn't really unsee it. But on January 15th, your girl's eyes flew open in her bed. And the first thought in my mind was, wait, Chelsea, all of these things that you've been learning about for the past several years, and all of this thinking that you've just been doing around wealth and inequality and power and global economic systems, all of this comes down to mean you can't invest in the stock market. You can't invest in the stock market. Do you know what these stocks are funding? You know what these stocks are funding. You have learned in deep and intimate and disturbingly gross and just decayed detail what these stocks are funding. You cannot willingly give your money. Can you willingly give your money to this mess? Y'all, I started asking that question on January 15th. I still don't have an answer. But in case y'all didn't know, allow me to illuminate just a little bit of what is going on in the world, okay? I am going to try to make this as simple as possible to really showcase that the the ETFs, the index funds that we're investing in, like all of our financial vehicles for things like retirement um are problematic. Not necessarily on the surface, but when you look back and you do a little digging, then you realize, wait, something is not right. And nobody told me this. I did not get this education from none of my favorites. And this is a problem. Because we're all told invest in the S&P 500, right? Or have a target date fund. Those are like the top recommendations as the most accessible thing that you can do. Have your 401k. Like these are some of the most accessible things that you can do to invest for retirement, to set yourself up for success financially long term, to make the future version of yourself grateful to the present version of yourself, that like you did what you had to do to set yourself up for that future life, right? We're all told this. And for those of us who are thinking of things like early retirement and fat fire, coasting fire, whatever fire you're doing, if you're doing any fire, or like all of those things, um, these are the sort of top of mind basic strategies that are touted across financial content creator, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere, right? And so this is like what was top of mind for me, of course. And I was already investing, quite frankly. Like once I learned what I needed to do, your girl got to work within a Jamaican context and we started making some investments. So like I was trying to do the thing. Yeah, I was trying to check all the boxes, y'all. Okay. I had my emergency fund locked in. I was continuing to add to that. I was just starting to build up my health savings because for me, when I think about finances and I think about early retirement and I think about wealth building, for me, early retirement is not so much about like retirement, it's work optional. It's the choice to not work on anything that is like what I talked about in that I'm mad that I have to pay to be alive video. That not having that reality. Like I want any dues that I have to pay to be alive to be already taken care of, so I don't have to work on a day-to-day basis to pay to be alive, because the payment to be alive is not going away, right? We all have to pay to live here, apparently, to breathe air. um However, I don't have to spend my current working hours all the time paying to be alive. And so I want to work on other things where if I do get paid, that money is not going to paying for my existence. And or I don't have to even worry about getting paid because like I have enough in the bank that I could just spend on this passion project. And I have my net worth is locked in, my wealth is taken care of, like my money's earning money. Like I don't have to worry about that. I can just do the things that are on my heart to do. Work on the projects, give in the ways that are all on my heart to be in the world, right? That's what wealth building and things like early retirement, etc., are for me. The second thing that is really big and top of mind for me is healthcare costs. Because we all know as we age, there is an increased likelihood of protracted illnesses and diseases and healthcare problems. And so, actually, having a really good nest egg for that for myself and for my family is top of mind for me. Because, and I know this is not something that other people talk about, like other financial creators. I haven't heard people talk about like specifically investing for your health. Like I've heard people talk about high yield savings accounts to have for your health savings. But like investing, knowing and thinking about the fact that like, okay, my parents are getting older and it would be good if I had some kind of healthcare plan for them, especially if I know that they don't have it for themselves and I have the finances or can create the finances to do that investment, or even thinking about myself long term and like not wanting to be the kind of person that sets my future self up for success, right? And I'm not trying to wait until I have kids to depend on them to take care of me. And so like it just, this is the kind of person I want to be in the world. These are the ways that I want to invest my money and my time in order to like create in the world, right? So that's where my mind was. So I was investing and doing all this, the box. I was checking all the boxes because that was where I was going. But when you realize that what you're investing in is funding exploitation of the planet or people on the planet, and that your money is compounding in your investment accounts based off of how much exploitation these companies can complete and get away with, then you have to ask yourself, am I cool with investing in this? Am I cool with giving my money to this? Am I okay with that? And I still don't have an answer for you because no, I'm not okay with it. But like, and I know there's other ways of investing, y'all. The stock market is not the only thing, but it was the most accessible, right? And so at this point, it's just like, okay, and also clearly acknowledging as well that like there's no industry on this planet that is without corruption and exploitation, none. And so I'm going to run into it one way or another, which then brings me back to like, okay, I just have to make as much money as I can, serving as many people as I can, because I cannot use the systems of compounding assets, right? I can't use those systems because the method of compounding is dependent upon other people's pain and the planet's pain. So let me stop like ranting and tell y'all what I'm talking about. All right. So when I talk about like investing and what I was investing in and what I was looking at things like the Vanguard S&P 500, like VOO, or a target date fund. Like actually I don't remember my target retirement date right now off the top of my head. But like, you know how you choose your retirement year and you choose that fund from Vanguard? That's what I was thinking of. Or I mean, were options that I was like contemplating, because I also don't have direct connection to those things from Jamaica, so it's kind of tricky to figure that out even. But I was also thinking of like a Fidelity Freedom Fund inside a Roth IRA or a 401k, because depending on how I set up my business, I can take advantage of those things, asterisk, right? It is a US business. So depending on how I set up my business, there are certain things that I can have in place. Like I said, actually, I wouldn't be able to do a Roth IRA, but I could do a SEP. So there's like ways around this, right? And so those were like the funds that I was thinking of, that and saying to myself, okay, like I could just set up my automatic deposits and we've got this, right? We're checking the boxes. We're doing this. I went to the Vanguard office. I went to the Fidelity office. I talked to the people. Like I did my research on what it would take to set up a SEP IRA, and like and thinking about a target date. But y'all, I did the things. Okay, I did the research. I did the things, and then in this moment on the morning of January 15th, Chelsea in her bed having this realization. I am just now thinking of the fact that, oh wait, but Chelsea, all of these funds, where does the money go? What does the money fund? Like, y'all ever wonder that? How is the compounding working? Like, actually, and where is the extra compounding money coming from? Y'all ever wondered that question? I can tell you, and I'm gonna read from my notes here because I don't want to make any mistakes. Three firms control the majority of funds in everyday people's retirement accounts. BlackRock, which you may have heard of that name before, the asset management firm, manages over $14 trillion and runs iShares, the brand behind some of the most popular ETFs in the world, including IVV. Okay. So when you invest in any mainstream retirement product, any ETF, right? Your money's flowing through one of these firms, including BlackRock is one of them. And guess what BlackRock is associated with? Which you could just search BlackRock on YouTube and end up down a whole rabbit hole. Welcome Alice to Wonderland. And this ain't Wonderland. This is BlackRock land, okay? Like it's a mess. It's a mess and it turned your stomach. All right. But I'll just give you a little taste. Sorry, that's not the word I wanted to use there. I'll give you a little bit of information. BlackRock has faced greenwashing complaints for labeling funds as sustainable, while at the same time holding over $1 billion in fossil fuel investments. That's just a tiny piece of the problem because BlackRock is associated with fracking, which we all know is the environmental degradation of fracking cannot be understated. The sort of like exploitation of land, but also the consequent degradation of culture associated with that land cannot, absolutely cannot be overstated. All right. So we're not even going to touch that. Suffice it to say, BlackRock is the world's largest passive investor in fossil fuels. At least some climate activists have said that. And so technically it's an asset manager. So like investing it's not owning these things, right? But when you look at the intermediary role, the money still ends up in the same place. So what is that compounding mechanism based on? Exploitation, bro. Land degradation, horrible environmental injustices, and human injustices. So, and that's just one. That's just one. Because the tech that we use every single day is also a problem. And this is what I meant in the other video when I was talking about the fact that just by being alive, we are complicit. We cannot get away. We literally cannot get away. Every single smartphone, laptop, electric vehicle, any appliance with any kind of mini computer in it, those batteries require the mineral cobalt in addition to several other minerals. And 70% of the world's cobalt is mined in the DRC, one of the poorest countries on the planet, and one of like where the government is, bruh, I won't even, suffice it to say, roughly 40,000 of the 255,000 miners there are children. Some as young as 6 years old, working in hand dog underground tunnels for as little as $2 a day. Bro, what can $2 a day buy? What $2 go buy? Unspeakable is the adjective. So when you buy a smartphone, when you buy a new laptop, when you buy your smartwatch, your anything that requires any of these minerals that are needed to create tech, this is just one. I'm just talking that was just cobalt. There's a bunch of others. You end up being complicit. And when you invest in tech companies, you end up complicit. When you invest it, like, listen, Apple, Google, Dell, Microsoft, Tesla were sued. All of them, every single one of them was sued. Okay, not to even mention the NVIDIA chips that are going into supercomputers that are going into data centers all over the planet. And then companies like Google funding companies like OpenAI and Anthropic, and then us investing in the S&P 500 that tracks Google. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong. All five of these companies, Apple, Google, Dell, Microsoft, Tesla, are top holdings in VOO, BTI, SPY, and every S&P 500 target date fund. If you say, okay, no, we're not going to invest in tech, we're not going to invest in mining, we're not going to invest in oil, we're going to invest in textiles and fashion, baby. Same problem. If y'all have never seen the rants about fast fashion and like the abhorrent practices, although I will say, in pockets all over the world, the textile industry has made some really big leaps in pockets, but it's still not as wide sweeping as it needs to be. And the textile industry is a problem. And major retail and apparel brands are held across S&P 500 funds and broad market ETFs like VTI. So I'm just trying to illustrate to y'all that like no matter what you touch, it's a problem. And so when I realized that this is what was happening and this is what my money would be going to fund, not to mention we haven't touched food or fisheries yet, which is a whole other problem. I'm gonna just say it real quick. I'm gonna just say this real quick. Um there's issues with like discarded fishing nets that are killing millions of sea life, including sharks, rays, turtles, seabirds, and other marine animals every year. And we've seen the ghastly videos on social media of like massive ropes being wrapped around these beautiful creatures who didn't do anything to us. And we're out here like destroying them. Bycatch is y'all. I have issues with the documentary Seaspiracy because the tone of it is not what it needs to be to like engage in serious discussion, in my opinion. I think my guy was just like infuriated and the infuriation came out in just like the way that it did. So it doesn't really engage in like a lot of yeah I have issues. Okay, that being said, the facts of that documentary cannot be like disputed. The fishing industry is a disaster. This is why I don't eat canned fish anymore. I mean, besides the canning, which is one problem, like things like sardines, which are actually highly nutritious. How do I in good conscience eat that, bro? When I know that to catch these sardines, they have had to throw back hundreds of thousands of tons of bycatch. Not to mention forced labor, and we're not touching land agriculture and the unspeakable destruction and practices, because let's be real, like I mean even the farmers who farm this way, like I've seen a couple videos recently where a few farmers are like, look, we actually are starting to see that we are a part of the problem. We want to fix this, but the industry is not allowing us. So like the big names, all of the big names now, I mean, bro, they're in your ETFs. They're in your index funds. So when I say when I say that I'm like, wait, can I in good conscience do this? Can I in good conscience put my money and hear me, I understand that like my little bit of money is not a whole lot of money, right? However, if I am planning to grow my net worth beyond a million up to like 5 million, even 10 million, which was my plan, right? Like these are the things I'm thinking about. That is a substantial amount of money. Now it again, it's not a lot compared to like the size of the funds that some of these places are managing and dealing with and the valuation of some of these companies. It's not a lot, but it's substantial enough that I have to now be honest about how much I have contributed to the exploitation that is undergirding and propping up these systems. Because my money played out a significant role there. Minorly significant, but significant nonetheless. And when I look at that, I'm just like, it feels like there's no recourse. Not that there's no recourse from a law perspective, because, and in specific cases, because obviously people have been sued. I mentioned a couple earlier, right? Like people have been sued, people have been accused, class actions have happened. But when I say I personally feel like there's no recourse, I feel like an individual looking at this behemoth, corrupted, decaying system that is run off of the exploitation of people and the planet, and I see no way to financially safeguard my future that is also not at the expense of someone else and not exploiting people or raping the planet. There is no way because every single industry you touch is like this. None of them are clean. And and when you realize this, you're just like, I live in a cesspool. I live in a cesspool because I'm complicit and there's nothing I can do about it. I have a smile on my face because what else are you gonna do? Obviously, you have to smile to keep from being in deep depression because this is a hot mess. I don't want to live here no more. I don't want Jesus take me home. Y'all, for real, for real. At the top of this, I said that I have benefited tremendously from Ramit Sethi's videos, from Your Rich BFF videos, even like financial diet videos. I did a video from the financial diet recently already. Like those content creators have helped me significantly, and others. Like I worked with a money coach. Her name is Diamond. As a matter of fact, I'll drop her details in my description box below. She was brilliant at supporting me in understanding my finances. Like I've worked with and watched and educated myself based on what financial creators have shared for years. None of them have said this. None of them have told me this. This is partially why I'm doing this video because I want us all to realize the with clarity the decision that we're making when we're saying that we're going to invest our money in a target date fund. When we're saying we're going to choose VOO or VTI, right? Like we're going to invest in those funds. I want us to be aware, eyes wide open with what we're choosing because I like it feels very confronting to realize that you have been contributing actively, not just by you being alive, but like active contribution to funding this exploitation. And it may not be a lot, but your dollar is a dollar, right? And I am just I'm just astounded by how every single contribution feeds the system and how I don't have a solution. I don't have a solution because I'm thinking about where what I want my money to be able to do for me in my life and what I want it to create for the people I care about. And investing seemed like the most accessible path to that. And now investing is fraught with ethical and moral questions that I cannot answer. Because now I don't I now it's like, okay, if it's not that, is that, which is why I said at the beginning of this video, I'm just like, all right, I guess I just gonna have to just make as much money as I can. Because what else is there to do? Just try my hardest, not for my business to be unethical and gross, and me make as much money as I can. And not necessarily like I'll have it happen in a year or whatever, but like if I can have 7 years where I generate $1 million in profits in take home, that would probably be the goal and enough. Not probably. That would be more than enough actually, because 5 million is really what I need. I've done the math, that's my enough number for like all the things that I want to do in my life. And that's a substantial sum of money if you look at like just daily expenses and what you're gonna be taking out every year in your retirement. And I've calculated this to live up to like 100. Just because I mean, if I don't live that long, we can do something else with the money, right? So, like, when I think about this, I'm just like, okay, well then, I guess this is where I'm at. Because if I invest and I make that money, it would be off the back of somebody else. And not just one somebody. Whole communities, whole families, people my age, people younger than me, losing their land, losing their livelihood, losing their ability to like be educated and have even a remotely similar quality of life, just like basic food and housing and education and healthcare needs met. I wouldn't have like I could not in good conscience. I can't see myself in good conscience doing that. So I don't have a response. And even like the alternatives, bro. Cause like I did research and I was like, okay, maybe there's some clean alternatives out there. No, because ESG funds are just like utterly greenwashed. Like they have these environmentally friendly stocks or whatever funds that like bundle stocks from different companies. And when you look at the list, you're just like, this this is stupid. This is stupid. And of course, none of them can be even remotely transparent about their supply chain because you'll see the mess. You see the mess. Funds people think are the solution, like Vanguard ESG US stock ETF or iShares ESG Aware MCSI USA ETF, which is ESGU. That's a ticker. I think they call it like ticker code. ESGV, ESGU, DSI. Those are some like ESG options. All of them still hold companies with documented environmental and labor abuses. So you're just like, you were supposed to be safe and clean. And to be clear, ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance funds, like ESG funds. That's what that means. They are marketed as an ethical alternative, screening out companies that harm the environment or exploit workers. But the standards are ridiculously stupid. They're just stupid. When you look at the list, you're like, this stupid. No, how can you even be on here? You I know are a mess. So there's no clear solution within the stock market, y'all. And then you look at like as I was talking about quality of life earlier, you look at quality of life around the world. And people say things like the poverty rate is declining across the world, but that poverty rate figure uses the World Bank's international poverty line of $2.15 a day. If you earn $2.16 a day, you have escaped poverty. Escape poverty. By three fingers. Bruh, $2.16. No, it is I think it is calibrated to that country's like it's not just $2.50 flat. It's calibrated by purchasing parity. So that country's cost of living is calculated within that $2.15. So whatever $2.15 can buy within that country, I think that's the way it works. I might be wrong though. But that don't tell you $2.15 a day don't tell you anything about whether that person can feed themselves and what they can feed themselves. Food insecurity, problem. It doesn't tell you anything about their housing insecurity, problem, education insecurity, problem, healthcare insecurity, problem. These are all basic sort of rights that I would say are humane to grant somebody, and that would be the definition of coming out of poverty. And when you look at those things, we're not doing as well as people like to say we are, especially now with the massive job market disaster currently ongoing as a result of the kind of ish reality, but mostly just promise of what AI is supposed to be able to do in the workplace. So I'm just saying, y'all. I'm just saying that nobody never tell me this. Amigo, amigo did the research. I found it myself. I'm the one who did the research and found all of these details. And on June 15th, it all kind of this was after like 4 years of learning about these things, right? In bits and bobs and from random YouTube videos and doing a bit of research here and there. On January 15th, it all coalesced in my brain. And I was like, wait, Jesus, what? Lord, this is not what I signed up for. How did I end up here? How did I end up here? And I don't even know what to do with my investments now. I'm not contributing to them anymore, but I don't even know what to do with them now because yeah, y'all, I don't have an answer, and my whole financial plan is out the window. And nobody never tell me like what my S&P 500 fund was actually funding. Um, but now I know, and now I have a decision before me, not just about what I do with my money, but I think also what the future of my financial plan looks like. Because one really reassuring thing coming out of all of this is I think it's really easy to, when you make these plans, um switch the definition of your security and provision from, if you are a Christian, if you are a believer, as I am, it's very easy to switch that from Jesus to your ETF. Or Jesus to your target date fund. Jesus, it's not the Lord who's gonna provide for your retirement anymore. It's VTI. Bruh. No. So like my financial plan being shook in this way was actually really sobering to remind me, ma'am, these things are not your source. Jesus is your source. And I think now I have questions about whether he uses the stock market as a channel because, bruh, I don't know about y'all, but when Jesus calls for an accounting of how I have spent and stewarded the resources that he has given me in this life, I don't think I can look this beautiful savior in him face and tell him, say, me did invest in a them something here. That cause of the money where him did bless me with, fracking could continue. And whales were continuously like abused in the ocean and just like killed. Or like any human being was degraded because of the way I spent my money. No, don't get me wrong. As I mean, it will probably end up that way, right? Because again, we are complicit just by being alive. But as much as it depends on me, right? Like as much as I have the information and can knowingly make the choice, I don't want you can look at Jesus' face and tell him, say, I knowingly made the choice to give my money to these things. I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you. Just personally me, I feel some kind of way about that. So it was helpful for me to be like, oh yeah, right, Chelsea, it's fine. Your health, even if you don't have the money straight and you're not looking at the net worth in your bank account, the provision will be made because Jesus is a provider. So like money was never your source. This stock market was never your source. So it's all good. Jesus got you. And quite frankly, even if he don't got you in sustaining your life and your health, you going home. And that's better. You out of here. And listen, that was the goal from a long, long time. Just like, cut me, get me out. Let me make my impact on the world and then get me out of here. And if you want to cut impact a little early, like Jesus, you have decided that I don't need to be here no more. Get me out of here. I'm happy to peace. I'm happy to leave. I'm happy. So either way, I'm set. I just don't. That doesn't that's like a future sort of destination, unless of course I die tomorrow, which could totally be a thing. Um, God forbid, but it could be a thing. But yeah, that you tend to think of that kind of thing as like an eventuality. I still have to make a today decision about like what I'm doing with my investment, and I don't have an answer. And I still have to make a today decision about my financial plan, and I don't have an answer for that either because I'm conflicted and convicted about being conflicted. So There you go. This is where I'm at, y'all. I don't know if y'all knew this stuff before now. Um, I'd be interested to hear if you knew. Did you know? Leave a comment to let me know if you were aware of all of this, of the mess of where your money is going when you put it in these various ETFs and target date funds. Like, let me know. Did you know? And if you didn't know, now that you have a glimpse of what it looks like, how do you feel? Like, what feelings does this evoke for you? As for me, I want to say thank you for joining me for today's video. I look forward to seeing your comments. Feel free to DM me on Instagram as well if you would rather do that. The link is also in the description box below. And I will see you in the next one, y'all. Take care.